Hello everyone. A few years ago I made a video called The South Was Right. It was one of my more popular videos, which sadly is not very. I know that my channel is not very popular as I wish it was, but it's not. And the reality is that the South was still right. I've decided to make it this video after seeing some graffiti on a Confederate monument in Raleigh. Some will argue that the South lost, and therefore these monuments should not exist. They may have lost, but it's still part of our history. I mean, there are monuments to Native American warriors at Little Bighorn. Should we take those down just because the Indians lost? There are monuments to, Poles that died in the Warsaw Uprising in World War II. They lost. They pretty much lost on every level. But, should those be taken down? I think not. Same thing goes with the Vietnam Memorial, or the memorials to the, in Russia for the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. So you see, it's like, how far, and anyway, just because they lost doesn't mean they don't deserve to be honored. In a lot of ways, it was a lot like the American Revolution, politically speaking. I mean, in a military context, it was totally different. The South had a much bigger hurdle to get over than the colonists ever did. And let me explain to you why. The colonists had a few major allies, including Spain, France, and the Netherlands. So it was effectively a 4 versus 1 on the British. The Confederate States of America didn't really have too many allies, if any at all. Britain and France kind of stayed out of it. No, they stayed out of it completely. And the geography of it, the North had way more men, way more industry, and more railroads, and just more of everything. And it was just a nightmare. In any sense of the word. I mean, it was pretty much like a midget versus, Andre the Giant. The fact that the Confederacy held out for as long as it did was a military miracle. And it's like, just amazing. In any case, as far as going after our history, I mean, where does it end? Are we going to take down monuments to Washington, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, because they owned slaves? Or are we going to bulldoze the Lincoln Memorial just because he killed more Native Americans than any other president? I mean, the list could just go on and on and on. And it's just like, what we need to do is we need to start focusing on what really matters and stop, as they say, stay out of the weeds. Like, the Confederate monuments, those are just the weeds. I am all for, police accountability. I really think we need a great deal more of that. And it's like, what we need to do is we need to have cameras on all cops, and if those cameras malfunction, they get thrown off the force for 6 months, suspended without pay. And second off, there needs to be a shit list, a database of police officers who have been fired for misconduct, so that they can never get another job in law enforcement ever again. 3, whenever a police department is sued for misconduct, the funds come out of every cop's paycheck. This turns bad cops into what's known as in the military as blue falcons, or buddy fuckers. And anyway, last but not least, we need to end the drug war we need to end the drug war. It's just that simple. No victim, no crime. Same goes with prostitution and all that shit. Anyway, there are a lot of, things that, people want to erase from history, but it's like, if you do that, think about who did this stuff. It's what the Khmer Rouge did. It's what Pol Pot did. Well, that's Pol Pot, the Khmer Rouge. It's what Mao did in the Cultural Revolution. It's what the Taliban did, blowing up, a prime example is blowing up a 1,000-year-old Buddha shortly before 9/11. So be afraid of people that want to destroy history and monuments and things like that. Be afraid. Be very afraid. And it's just not what we should do. We need to acknowledge our history, good, bad, and the ugly. In any case, there is a link to my original video in the description box. You can watch it if you want. But anyway, one piece of information that you might find very interesting is that, politically speaking, I know I mentioned this earlier, but let me elaborate on it. The South was a lot like the colonies in the Revolution, because they owned slaves. The British went around freeing those slaves, believe it or not, and if the colonists had lost, the slaves would have been freed 30 years early, if not sooner. That, and then there's also, the genocidal campaigns against Native Americans went on before, during, and after. It's just, the list just goes on and on and on. But hey, who am I? I'm just a guy with a YouTube channel. Anyway, I do hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Have a nice night. Be good, y'all.